Okay, this is my third take at this video because every time it has crashed. But today I'm going to be talking about the Keys of Marinus. Now, this is in. I'm really early on into this classic Doctor Who journey, but this is the first of the stories I've consumed that I would really say is a solid high tier Doctor Who story. I love this story. I really, thinking back through it, I can't think of many flaws with it. I think it's really, really strong. And I think it, like, not only does it introduce new side characters that are pretty solid, but it gives all of the companions and all of the Doctor, like the whole core crew, each has their own time to shine, and each has like a role to play in this story, and gets a little bit, a little bit stronger. You can tell that they're all more confident in their abilities, and you can tell that they've been doing this for a little while, and that, like, okay, now, like, we get the sense of like what these adventures with the Doctor are like, and we gotta, we're more confident in ourselves. Even Susan, who's like, like a big trait of hers is that she's very cowardly, is like making brave decisions and acting like a lot stronger in this story. So I feel like there's definitely development trickling in. But yeah, I would say this is almost like, it's almost comparable to Flux in a way in the modern series, where it's like, one overarching story, but there's each episode introduces a unique, engaging sci-fi concept. So essentially, the gimmick of the Keys of Marinus, if you haven't seen it, is that the Doctor and company show up on this, like, sort of aquatic island area called Marinus, of course. And first of all, I want to say the set for Marinus was like, classic Doctor Who, they have very little work with, but this was like, it has this really cool, they give these really cool vibes where, like, they show you just a little bit of it, but they, like, hint at things that are across the horizon or around the corner that you just can't see, and it really, like, creates almost like you're reading a book. And, like, it creates this, like, more imaginative scope of, like, the settings and environments. And I think it's a really cool, like, benefit of this, like, rusticity of classic Who, I will say. But yeah, similar to what I was saying in the Daleks, like, the environments give this like really cool, like, liminal, like, space palace vibe, and I really, like, really loved the set design of it, especially that first episode in this arc. But yeah, so they arrive, and essentially, very long story short, they're sent on a MacGuffin quest to get these keys of Marinus, the titular keys, if you will, and their journey to find each key ends them up in a different place across. I think it's all on the same planet, but they use these, like, travel dials, which I think, can't remember if those are used in modern Who, but I definitely think they come like they. I'm, like, totally blanking right now. I think Captain Jack uses them. Could be wrong, but anyway, they get these travel dials that take them from place to place. But yeah, and so each key that they have to get brings the characters into a new, unique sci-fi situation. So it creates this such freshness to this, where it's like, oh, like, you're wondering, like, oh, what's the cool concept going to be for the next key? And they do, like, almost like these mini stories within it that are, like, all really engaging. There's some that are weaker than others, like the ice one was definitely the weakest, with this weird, like, raby, snow country man. It was very strange, that one in particular. That one, I would say, was like the black sheep of the bunch. But, like, there's a really cool, like, you know utopic brainwashing society one, where it's like, which I thought was very interesting and introduced some very interesting sci-fi concepts. There was a cool, like, Indiana Jones, that's like temple exploration one. There was a, like, sci-fi futuristic murder trial one. Like, they're like it's introducing all of these stories that could have been separate Doctor Who stories, all under the guise of this one, like, journey. So if anything, it was really, like, comparable to, like, what modern Doctor Who does with the seasonal arcs, but, like, particularly it really, like reminisces of Flux for me. Like, where it's trying to do sort of like an interconnected long form story over the course of a season, but while still introducing some, like, unique, like, sort of standalone ish sci fi concepts in there. Um, And I think this like does it incredibly well, definitely better than Flux did. But that's not hard to do. Um, yeah, like I don't know if there's much more to say. I really love the Keys of Marinus. It's like a new like high tier Doctor Who story for me, and this really excited me because this was something like, obviously it's very different than Modern Who, but this is the first story where I felt like, oh, I'm watching really good Doctor Who. And I'm getting new Doctor Who content that I haven't seen before that's really solid. Like I liked the Daleks and I liked An Unearthly Child. I like both quite a bit, but like they definitely had their issues. And this one is like, I think through it, I'm like, can't really think of any issues. This was like a really solid story. Now, like, we don't really fully understand the motives of like the like scuba I'll call them the scuba men villains that are sort of in the background of this story. We don't really fully understand them, but um, it's not like a be all end all for the story in any way because the individual like locations and the stories that the individual stories that those locations foster on their quest to get these keys like are so strong on their own that like all of them could have stood alone as individual Doctor Who stories, but the fact that they're all packaged under this cool umbrella of like going on this MacGuffin quest, and usually I'm one to be like, oh, MacGuffins are cheesy and annoying, but like it really, really works here, especially since this is like what 1963, so this is like when these types of sci-fi stories were first being originated, like MacGuffin based sci-fi. So like, yeah, all's to say, this was like I feel like I'm repeating myself and going in circles right now, but this like really gave all the characters like the time they needed to shine and showcase the development they've experienced so far and becoming more stronger and confident in their abilities. And it also introduced like some side characters that were like not half bad, but also like it used the overarching narrative of collecting these keys that could have been slow and boring and samey. They could have been in the same location, just running around trying to get these keys, trying to avoid scuba men. That's what I thought this story was going to be. And I was like, oh god, are we really going to get like, I don't remember how many episodes specifically this story arc was, like probably like six. I could be totally wrong, but like, are we really gonna like get them running away from the scuba men, going across the beach, finding keys? That's what I thought the story was gonna be. But what I got was so pleasantly surprising and gave me like some of these individual like stories that are like so strong that would have been great stories on their own that all work together to serve the broader Keys of Marinus story. And I love this. I loved I loved this episode, and it's definitely a new classic for me, a new high tier Doctor Who story. So, yeah, this is like the treasures I'm hoping to get from this journey, and I'm really excited. Like, this is really invigorating my excitement to keep going. Now, I think the next story arc, I could be wrong, but I think the next story arc is the Aztecs, which is a story I watched years ago when I was first getting into Doctor Who. There was a point where like I was watching random classic Who stuff. Like I watched Shada, what was recovered of Shada. I watched the first part of An Unearthly Child, and I watched all of the Aztecs. And I remember not liking the Aztecs back then. So I'm interested. I'm going to rewatch it again. I'm not going to skip it, and I'm interested to see what my opinions are on that. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Keys of Marinus. I loved it. I can't really say 10 out of 10. I hate number ratings, but really, really solid story, and really motivating me and exciting me to keep going on this journey. So yeah, thanks guys for watching.